am the seed, I am the tree, I am the flower, I am the bee. I am fire and I am wind. I accept love and also I give. I am loud and I am mighty. I am silent and I tread lightly. I am brave and monumental. I am modest, I am gentle. I am student and I teach. I am the sand and I am the beach. I am ease and I am power. I am bridge and I am power. I am peace and I am wild. I am mother, I am child. I am many, I am few. I am God and God is you. I sing, I am what I wanna know, I understand. Oh, I wish I could again. Who I wanna be, I am. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. Oh, I wish I could again. Who I wanna be, I
You just gotta keep your hands open. Just gotta keep your heart open. Teach me how to receive every blessing, every blessing. Teach me how to receive every blessing. Every blessing, give me the wisdom to understand how things work together for my good and your plan. Oh, for grace to believe that I will receive every blessing. Teach me how to receive every blessing. I want to receive it. Every blessing. Teach me, God, right now, right here. Every blessing, give me the patience to abide in your will. Anxious for nothing, your living word will fulfill. Oh, for grace to believe that I will receive.
in my soul that I can't contain, I can't control. I want more of you, God. I need more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, I can't control. I want more of you, God. I need more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain. I can't control. I gotta have more of you, God. I need to have more of you. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain. More of your spirit. I want more of you. More of your love. I want more of you. No place I'd rather be. No place there's no other place I would rather be. No place I'd rather be than here in your love. Here in your love. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. Searched all over, couldn't find nobody. They're here in your presence. God, we need you. God, we can't move without you. Oh, no place we'd rather be. They're here. Oh, no place than in your arms of love, in your arms of protection.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Spirit Rising family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so good to see you. Latasha, I'm going to have you play one more song as I switch from phone to computer.
Sometime I'm on a rap. Everybody ought to hold to his hand. Hold to God's unchanging hand. Everybody ought to hold to his hand. Hold to God's unchanging hand. You ought to build your hopes on things eternal. Everybody ought to hold to God's unchanging hand. Everybody ought to hold to his hand. Hold to God's unchanging hand. Everybody ought to hold to his hand. Hold to God's unchanging hand. You ought to build your hopes on things eternal. Everybody ought to hold to God's unchanging hand, changing hand. Now, mother, won't you hold to God's unchanging hand. Every mother ought to hold to God's unchanging hand. You ought to build your hopes on things eternal. Every mother ought to hold to God's unchanging hand, changing hand. Well, I'm gonna hold. I'm gonna hold to God's unchanging hand. Yes, I'm gonna I'm gonna build your hopes on things eternal. Yes, I'm gonna hold to God's unchanging hand, changing hand. Ooh, all right. I just like
Ooh, Latasha, thank you so much. Thank you so much for what a beautiful song. Can you put in the chat who that is? Can you put that in the chat? You took me all the way back to my childhood. I mean, all the way back to Black Church on Sundays.
Yeah, that made me very happy as well.
That's like, when the motherboard is singing. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? The mamas in the front of the church,
Yes.
the grandmamas, the church elders. Just take one to get up. And that's it.
That's it.
That's
Get
it.
up, sit there, pat those feet,
Yes.
hands to clapping.
Yes, you don't need no whole lot of instrumentation or anything. You just, our spiritual mothers, just hit that note, Indeed. You almost praise dance, Miss Alicia. Indeed.
All right.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Welcome, 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 dear family, to Spirit Rising this very first Sunday of March 1, 2026. Pat yourself on the back. We made it. I don't know what you've had to live through to get here, but I'm grateful that you are here, and I do not take your presences for granted. As is our custom, I want to root us in Spirit Rising and why we gather, and then we'll open space for us to talk about how we are arriving. Thank you, Latasha, for putting this in the chat. Hold to his hands. Luther Dickinson and the Como Mamas. So, Spirit Rising is a salon for the soul, and it serves as a sacred space and community where our spiritual growth and liberation meet. We offer provocations that stimulate our spiritual curiosity, invite our most authentic self-expressions, and activate the wisdom of our souls. We affirm the power of the collective to serve as a mighty channel for revelation and the flow through of spirit. The power of the collective, the power of the collective, the power of the collective. We're not focused on a single bright light here, but on the field of enlightenment that most assuredly includes us and extends into the great beyond. In our community, we trust love as the greatest universal power. We honor the divine as spoken by any name and no name. We focus on collective liberation through spirit while emphasizing personal experiences and our individual transformations. We lovingly explore the intersections and oneness with the divine, the intersections of spiritual development and transformative justice. And we believe that spiritual intimacy and oneness with the divine is an accessible relationship for all. Intimacy and oneness with the divine is an accessible relationship for all. We are rooted by the profound welcome, a persistent, unqualified yes, an extension of unconditional belonging, and we dare to stand in the spaces of hurt and hope so that we fully witness the possibilities of creation. We are open to the truths wherever we find them, and we embrace the wildness and wholeness of our spirits. Welcome to Spirit Rising. Come off mute and let's say hello to everybody.
Hello, beautiful people.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Hello.
morning. Happy Sunday.
Hey,
Grand
now.
Rising.
Hi.
Beautiful souls. Good morning.
Praise God.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday, happy Sunday, happy Sunday. Welcome, Delisha. We were just coming off mute and saying good morning to each other today.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning. Oh, I am here to greet you. Let me see if I can't find some of these spiritual names that we began with in the beginning of the year. I want to greet Mama Maybell, whose spiritual moniker is Wisdom Walker. Welcome to the well today. I want to greet Sweet Tea, Truth Teller for peace and love. I want to greet Sally, a truth lover. I want to greet Delisha as disciple of love. I want to greet Mama Love as the goddess of love. I want to greet Miss Alicia as the holy servant. I want to greet my sister Tracy as the holy healer who hailed from the heavens. Holy healer who hailed from the heavens. And I want to greet my sister Stacy as the spirit of beauty and exploration. I wrote it all down, y'all, so I wouldn't forget it, and to help you not forget it either. Right? And of course, I am showing up today not just as Rebecca, but as a pathfinder to soul, and as a cosmic daughter. So, welcome, 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 welcome. I greet you in your spiritual identities, not just the government names that you have been given. Please put in the chat what your spiritual name is. Miss Alicia, you picked the name. But you said your name, Miss Alicia, was servant. And I put a holy in front of that, but you can call yourself what feels best. I am going to invite us to open up the floor for a moment and to come on to the well of wisdom and to share how we are arriving today. How are you arriving at the well of wisdom today?
I am overly grateful because I am spoiled by my grandson who who loves to talk back to me, and we have our little conversations, which is hysterical to me. Um, but yeah, just that love, that newness, that openness. Um, yeah, appreciative and grateful and spoiled.
Blessings on new life that helps us engage life anew. How about that? Yes, yes, and blessings on, is it Nathan? Yes, blessings on baby Nathan. Indeed. The floor remains open. How are you arriving at the well of wisdom today?
Grand Rising people, this is Tracy. I am coming in rested, okay, relaxed, very grateful. And today is my mother's Laura May Sai, okay, heavenly birthday, March the 1st. And today my siblings and my nieces and great nieces are going to gather. Um, And I've been doing some liberation genealogy. Miss Rebecca, I'll talk to you about that. And so I get to present them with all with pictures from some of the research that I've been doing from like our mother, grandmother, great grandfather, and a little excerpt around that genealogy. So I'm feeling really full and extremely grateful and honored to be trusted and assigned by the ancestors to do this work with spirit, with my family. So yeah, that's how I'm coming in today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, dear sister. Blessings upon your mother's life. and for her role in the family tree, as she has been one who is an extension of lineage and who's born lineage and continued it. Blessings on her, and blessings on you and your siblings and your nieces and nephews and all of her descendants and progeny in perpetuity. And blessings on you, dear sister friend, as a keeper of lineage, as a tender of the family tree. May the information and the images and the insights that you share with your loved ones today be received with open hearts and deep curiosity and connection. The floor is open.
I want to say happy Sunday, everybody. Happy Sunday. Miss Tracy, my last born shares the same birthday as your mother. So
Beautiful.
he is 11 years old. Yes.
Oh,
And
11.
so, yes. And he reminds me that I'm getting older. Yes. But I'm alive. That's the important thing. I am arriving feeling a little lighter than before. I've actually listened to Reverend Gabby when she said that it's okay to get rid of Family Dollar's plate and just drop it and let it go. Been holding on to these quote unquote Family Dollar plates for a long time that served me no purpose. And so since I've been letting those Family Dollar plates go, I've been feeling a lot lighter, more freer, more rejuvenated, and which allow me to accept more positive energy into my life, into my faith, into my circle. So I am grateful and blessed to be here because I woke up this morning. Thank you all.
We're so happy that you woke up this morning, Miss Alicia, right along with you in this dimension. So grateful for that. Grateful for the life of your youngest, I believe, child, and celebrating his birthday with him today. And grateful for this season of release, which you seem to be in, as is captured by the letting go of the Family Dollar plates. May the releases that you are engaged in help to further resource your well-being and the well-being of your family. Asheo, the wisdom well is open. Yes, Mama.
Good morning. Good morning, Spirit Rising. I am, and good morning, daughters. I have 2 daughters on this Zoom. Stacey said, that's right. And don't you forget it.
And Sage is in the room too. She said, and me, Grandma.
Hey, Sage Pooh.
Hi, Grandma.
Hi, sweetie.
Grandma.
So I'm arriving fully blessed. I had a wonderful mini retreat experience at my new church yesterday, all day. I met some new people. And yet, and also, I'm feeling a heavy heart because of the recent assassination that took place in Iran. And not only because I continue to ache regarding the wounded leader of this nation and the wounding he is inflicting on others, and how others are having to absorb that pain. But also in reality of what is, I believe, an imminent threat here. Because retaliation is a part of what is happening, and Washington, D.C. is ground zero. And so I'm having to stay firmly planted, rooted at the core, reminding myself that God is in control, and not allowing fear to overtake me or this set of circumstances and conditions to become central to my life. And trust and believe it is difficult. It takes a lot of work. And personal vigilance, spiritual vigilance. So that's how I'm coming today.
Thank you, Mom, for sharing. I could tell your energy. I was waiting for the second part because I was like, my mama's energy is a little different here. I'm grateful for your rooting and grounding in spiritual community and a new community at that resources you and is not only resourced by you. So I'm grateful. I can put a little editorial in there if you count that. um, but um, I also appreciate the depth of your spiritual practice that in times of turbulence, tumult, and assassination, um, has you not just sort of braced for negative impact and fallout, right? Because choices breed consequences, but also gets you to keep standing firm in your spiritual practice and connection to the divine. When the conditions that are around you and around us are toxic and dangerous and lethal, coming back to what resources and sources you as an anchor in the midst of all of that turbulence, and keeping your heart open to the movement of the divine in you and with you and through you and for you is a mark of your rigorous practice. And I appreciate that modeling. Asheo. My sister Simone. What? It's so good to see you. The Well of Wisdom remains open for people to share how you're arriving on this day.
Good morning. I'm right there with Mama Maybell. I wrote a status earlier this week that we are so unwell. We, not I, not he, but the collective body is so unwell right now. Ironically, one of our healers private messaged me, telling "Are you okay?" And I am, as good as can be under conditions, but we are not. It feels like every day there's something else. Like, we still fresh off of Venezuela. We still fresh off Cuba. We still fresh off the Mexican cartel. Like, it just don't stop, right? So I'm really feeling Mama Maybell, like, how unwell he is. How hurt are so many white body folks that they've created this world that we are living in. And it's a hard pill to swallow. And still hold space for joy and love on the babies and all the things that life absolutely requires for survival. These are survival tactics. So that's how I'm arriving.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Brittini, Asheo, for sharing. Right, that we swimming in some real dirty water. Right, and that this addiction to violence and domination, as repeatedly and daily expressed through this administration, specifically, but certainly not exclusively, and through our white-bodied brothers and sisters, specifically, again, though certainly not exclusively, right? How this addiction is endangering and imperiling everything. And how at the same time, in the midst of that, we are still called to be stewards of life. It's a hell of a thing to hold both, to tend to babies, to deepen our own well-being, right? At the same time that there is such destruction, devastation, death, and destabilization. Yeah, I feel that. The well of wisdom remains open. Are there others who would like to share how you're arriving on this day?
Good morning. I'm on that similar train. I came here today feeling so I'm just really hungry for like I remember growing up and folks would talk about spiritual warfare and I didn't get it, and now I feel like I'm experiencing like psychological warfare. I feel like everywhere I go, this is all that is consuming our attention, all we're talking about, all the conversations, and how could it not be? But I can feel like my mind and my soul like needing to be in spaces and to be filled with visions of like something else. I feel like we're kind of succeeding to this apocalyptic future that's they're trying to push us towards and that they are pushing us towards with the best of their effort. And I want to be attuned and aware, and I also am like I need folks who are also saying like, so there is a way that we can use our own magic, our own mental space, our own attention to create to switch the tide into a different direction. And so I am hungry for that as I arrive today. I am grateful to have this community, to know that I will leave being filled. But it's scary that I'm like, this seems to be, it's just you can't escape it, and it feels on purpose. Uh, it feels like a part of their strategy. And I want to stay in the conversation. We need to. And I also am like, I need other spaces where we can figure out what we're doing and what's next. So yeah, I'm grateful to be here. I'm really on the same wavelength of that. So I'm just grateful for folks to even bring that up into space.
Ooh, thank you, thank you, thank you, Delisha. I appreciate your teasing out this holy tension even more and being like, yeah, the sky is falling. And we're creating new worlds, new realities. Right? What is emerging in and through us? Can we give that attention so that we are not completely hijacked, right? By these efforts at chaos and control. Can we tap into a wider, deeper vibration, so that we are not colonized by fear, right? How do we do that? So I appreciate that holy agitation to the to staying connected, aware of, attuned to, and fully engaged with um, that which is full of life and magic and love, so that we don't lose our connection and our creative faculties, so that our conditioned tendencies don't reinforce our disbelief and keep us from animating and activating the realities, experiencing more fully the love-based realities of our souls. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are still arriving at the Well of Wisdom, and I'll take any final shares that people want to offer about how you're arriving on this day, this first Sunday in March.
Good morning, everyone. I spent 3 hours this morning on the phone with my Persian and Baha'i sister, sort of exploring the impact of what is going on in Iran on her family. Rebecca, you know her, she's our sister. And not being Persian or Baha'i, I came to it with some of what I gleaned from her over the long tenure of our friendship and sisterhood, and then also with my Black sensibilities. So, we were sort of talking through a lot of that. But I do feel the need to share, and I understand that many assassinations have been perpetrated here, and also a people that has been terrorized for almost 50 years in recent history has gotten some moment and some measure of liberation. And I recognize that is through work that has been done by the CIA for much time preceding Trump's occupation of this office, which immediately brings a gagging sort of reflex to me. And that same Trump is touting this as an accomplishment of his, brings the same reflex to me. So there are a lot of complicated feelings and thoughts that I'm experiencing, and that I know that community is experiencing as well. And that is along with the fears that have been expressed here about what that could mean for everybody else, because of this desire for retaliation that seems to be a constant thing. But I will share one of the incredible things that she was able to share with me, and it's in line with what many of you are saying, and that is this moment in London where you had Muslim and Jew celebrating, and yes, celebrating because people have been killed, but celebrating and fellowshipping together in a bizarre way, this thing that may never happen again, but definitely happened yesterday upon news of these assassinations. So we are definitely living in very complicated, nuanced, juxtaposing, like it's all of the beauty and the ugly, and then obviously lots of other things mixed in a jumble of what we are right now. And I'm not going to remember the quote, but out of chaos can come all kinds of beauty. So I encourage myself, because I need a constant reminder, in the face of these kinds of horrors. And Rebecca and Mama Mabel, as you know, there have been other horrors this week to me that frankly feel greater in their horrific nature. And it's a constant effort to try to remind myself that in all of this is God. I can't pretend to understand it. But I do know that to be true.
Thank you, dear sister, for sharing. I'm struck by your final words. In all of this is God. In all of this is God. And that there are an array of responses to the upheaval that is taking place around the world and in our lives. And that the dissolution of things often is necessary for the emergence of other things. And that we don't stand outside of these cycles, nor do we purport to understand the full range of impacts that might emerge from all of these changing circumstances and conditions. So I appreciate nuance here. And I get the ugh too, because we've been taught that intent matters, right? Like impact, there might be positive impacts that come from things, but if your intent is jacked up, right? Like, and we've been taught that impact matters, and so your intent might be positive, but the impacts can be challenging. So I get that it's there's layer and complexity there, and I grapple, truthfully, family, I grapple with how a reality TV star turned president would see killing as a pathway to increase popularity, because that's very much what this feels like to me, right? So yes, Stacy, yes, but in everything is God. I think that might be a good turning point for us to lean into some of today's conversation. Is there anybody else who has a burning desire to say how you're arriving at the well of wisdom before I shift our collective attention?
Grateful, 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 grateful. I know that this war started yesterday. I'm going to watch the beginning of this to get more information, because Stacy, what you said is the extent of the information that I have heard about it. And last thing, super grateful and just happy to be with you all between this moment of eclipses, which is a wild time in our cosmos, as we are all experiencing. And I keep feeling this: keep up and you'll be kept up. Vibrate the cosmos and the cosmos will clear away. And I'm moving today. I'm relocating. And thank you for the moral support while I go through stuff in the bathroom. God is so good to me. I have to get rid of things in layers. I'm like a camel. I travel all the way from St. Louis with all this stuff, slowly editing. So I'm so excited, Rebecca.
Thank you, Tess. We're excited to you. Blessings on your moving. Blessings, blessings, blessings on your moving and all of the places and spaces your travel has taken you to, and your willingness to explore and to be on adventure has taken you to. And Lizzie, so happy to have you here, recognizing that you've been traveling on Sundays, and sending you healing vibrations, so we can elevate, and help you experience conditions of well-being in your body, in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit. Well, y'all, what we gonna talk about today? you gonna talk about today? I would say I don't know, but that wouldn't be true. I know some of what we're gonna talk about today. But you know how this community goes, right? Like we set out on a journey and then something else happens. And in fact, before I lean in even further, I want to say welcome also to Alicia, who joined us, Alicia B, who joined us, and any other new arrivals, and Carolyn, who has joined us. Happy to have you. We have been greeting everyone. And so want to also acknowledge you before we get started. Okay, so my last teaching was in February, right? The 1st of February, and it left some challenged and disturbed. What began as an introduction to the principles of Akoma Day, right, where we're celebrating deeply Black love and community love in a way that is felt denser and thicker than just a sort of Valentine's, right? What began as an introduction to the principles of Akoma Day, because many of us had never experienced Akoma Day and hadn't heard about it, sort of quickly dropped us into a quagmire of emotions as we wrestled with some questions, right? And Akoma Day had us focus on forgiveness and peace and a whole bunch of things, persistence and endurance. And as we sort of leaned more fully into these principles. In fact, I wanna pull them up just so that I'm making sure I do them justice. Flexibility and unified purpose, and patience and faithfulness and transformation, and consistency and forgiveness and unified spirit. As we started leaning into those principles, we got to some deeper questions, because it was all of those things were efforts at sort of getting us to embrace a commitment to unconditional love, and to engaging with that sort of that lens, that orientation, that posture to life. But that brought us into these sticky spaces where, and I'm not sure that we asked these questions explicitly, but they were certainly implied in many ways, if not also explicitly asked. What does it mean to love unconditionally? Right? Like, what does it mean? It sounds good, right? But what does it mean to love unconditionally? And how do we love the horrible? I feel like, all y'all's how you arriving today is preparing us for this message. Who knew? How do we love the horrible? What roles do resistance and self-protection and destruction play in unconditional love? Can we love unconditionally with boundaries and with distance? And how really is unconditional love practiced in a world that's teeming with toxins, violence, and enduring harm? Feels to me like Spirit was channeling your arrival before I knew you were arriving, right? In terms of what is top of heart and mind for me today. So iterations and versions of those questions emerged from from the message I shared, and from our interactions around it, and from our own collective listening and discernment. And while I'm not going to pretend to give answers to those questions on this day, I don't want to poo-poo them, and they won't leave me alone. So here I am again this Sunday. And I should also say that immediately after that session, Carolyn told me about a book that she had been reading called No Bad Parts by Dr. Richard C. Schwartz. And what it does is provide a therapeutic framework for loving and integrating our many parts, the many dimensions of ourselves, not the least of which are the parts that we've deemed unlovable in ourselves and by extension in the world. You all hold for one moment. Someone is at my door. I apologize for that. Willow. Oh, that's Willow. Okay, then go let your sister in. Okay, so it provided a therapeutic framework for loving and integrating the unlovable in ourselves and the many parts. Not all are unlovable, but specifically the unlovable in ourselves and by extension in the world. The book focuses on healing trauma and restoring wholeness with the internal family systems model. Therapists tend to be quite familiar with this model as it's gaining increasing traction and popularity, both within clinical settings and within community settings. And I have to tell you, after Carolyn told me about the book, I did what I do when people tell me about books, I buy them. So I bought the book and I began doing its exercises. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm very far in this book because I've decided not to rush through it, you all, but to take my time with it and its practice. This is what it looks like. No bad parts, right? And I'm maybe through, I don't know, a sixth of the book thus far. But I found the initial exercises to be profoundly impactful. And later, that same week that Carolyn said, oh, on Sunday, she said, oh, you want to, I'm reading this book, you might want it. And I bought it and I started reading it and doing the exercises. Then maybe by Tuesday of last week, or of the same week, Carolyn was invited to participate in a 5-month international training on the models practice at no cost, and asked me to join her. Now, surprisingly, when I looked at my perennially overcrowded calendar, y'all, my overcrowded schedule, I mean, my schedule ain't friendly to nobody. It's not even friendly to me. I found that the weekly time slot in which the trainings are held was actually open on my schedule for 5 months. What? I know. Now, those of you who don't work with me might have a hard time really understanding that this is a miracle. Okay, like a miracle of the highest order. But believe me when I tell you that Spirit made the impossible doable. And it is clearly conspiring to not only aid and abet in my own healing, but to also fortify my ministry. Because even the name of the book, No Bad Parts, gets at what we were trying to get at when last we talked. What do we do with our bad parts, y'all? Right? What do we do? What do we do with the underloved and unloving parts of ourselves that keep popping up like whack-a-mole, despite all of our religious and theological formation and indoctrination, in spite of our criminal legal systems and its many punishments, in spite of our therapeutic interventions and medicines and all the things. Man, oh man, what do we do with these parts? So before I continue on that, I want to say once again that I'm eternally grateful for our community and convinced of the power of the collective. It's one of the things I said at the very beginning, the power of the collective to serve as a mighty channel for Spirit. Because truly, where my words fell short and where my understanding was constrained, and where my imagination was encumbered, Spirit worked through relationship to address my disbelief, to help deepen my practice of love, and to resource my life's ministry. And so, thank you, Carolyn. And thank you to everything else that had to move to make this possible. I don't know that I have a lot of content, but the content is sticky, so we'll sit with it today. I'm going to pause here to reflect for a bit on the core work of my ministry, because I said this orientation in No Bad Parts is not just for my healing, but it's also for my ministry, and it is certainly top of mind for you all. And one of the reflexive ways that we could respond to what is happening in the world is all of what we need to do out there to change the conditions and the circumstances, and to transform the toxins. And hear me, because I exist in the world, as many of you, as a change maker and change agent. I do not want to stymie or stunt our orientations or proclivities to doing something to make out there better. And yet the priestess in me wants us to not retreat from the work in here because of preoccupation out there. Because I don't think it's possible for us to reconcile what to do with the bad parts in our world without reconciling, without acknowledging and trying to figure out what to do with the bad parts in us. I don't think those parts are separate, by the way, though they may appear to be so. Close that. And so I'm going to be decidedly focused on our internal for a moment, not to negate the external, but I'm going to be decidedly focused on our internal, because I think that gives us the greatest leverage and traction for being able to create the worlds in which we most want to live, and live into the fullness of who and what we are. So I said this orientation, this book is speaking in some ways to my life's ministry. And so I want to talk for a moment about the principal wisdom teaching of my soul, in case you've missed it in the last 10 years we've been together. My mother certainly reminds me of this on a regular basis. In this incarnation, the principal teaching of my soul, which is also the greatest lesson of my soul, that is to say, I'm still learning it, is that there is no separation. If I had to be reductive and boil it all down, that is the lesson for me in this incarnation, and it is what I continue to talk about and deepen in and steep in my spiritual practice. There is no separation, and we are whole. We are whole, despite our appearances, despite our beliefs, despite our stories, despite our practices, and truthfully, despite our prevailing conditions. We are whole. There is no separation. I keep chewing on that. I keep working on that. I keep coming at that. My mother reminds me my first sermon at 6 was about that. And now I'm in my 50s and I'm still grappling with it. There is no separation. We are whole. Yet it turns out that wholeness, while spiritually and philosophically appealing, presents a huge challenge to our dominant operating systems. Its practice requires that we resolve deeply held experiences of separation, subjugation, and suffering, A trinity powerful enough to colonize our ideals and imaginations with relative ease. Separation, subjugation, and suffering is a trinity powerful enough to colonize our ideals and imaginations with ease. Right? So, life like, look, here you go. Let me see how much your wholeness stacks up in the face of this. Right? The indigenous wholeness of our souls becomes increasingly difficult to access and express when trauma has entrained our individual and collective nervous systems to that which is most unwell in our human experience. I'm going to say that again so that we might hold this bitter truth with curiosity and compassion. The indigenous wholeness of our souls becomes increasingly difficult to access and express when trauma has entrained our individual and collective nervous systems to that which is most unwell in our human experience. Now, Delisha picked this up because Delisha was like, man, I know this shit matters, but boy, if it doesn't feel like it's hijacking me, hijacking my sensibilities, my abilities, hijacking my competencies, colonizing my thoughts, making it difficult for me to not only imagine, but to create something other than this mess. I need spaces, I need places that remember there is more to life, there's more to me. I need places and spaces that help me remember. I need places and spaces that are not defined by my unwellness. Delisha, if I'm putting words in your mouth, girl, just check me. But it felt like that's what you were saying. It's not surprising then that if trauma is entraining our individual and collective nervous systems to that which is most unwell in our experience, then it is not surprising that so much of the work we are called to do on the spiritual path involves healing, right? So much of it involves healing. And this healing may be for our bodies, right? And our minds. It may be for our relationships. It even may be for our sense of oneness with the divine. Have mercy. Right? This healing, right? This spiritual path keeps bringing us back to healing. It's why we end up spending so much time on it, and healing of multiple dimensions: body, mind, relationship, oneness with soul, oneness with spirit. No matter the need, though, all healing is a return to the awareness of wholeness. All healing is a return to the awareness of wholeness. And this is the deep knowing that at the level of spirit, no part of us can ever be missing or broken. At the level of spirit, no part of us can ever be missing or broken. I'm just going to let that settle for a minute. At the level of spirit. At the level of spirit. I didn't say at the level of your eyesight. I didn't say at the level of your feelings. I didn't even say at the level of your experience today. I said at the level of spirit. No part of us can ever be missing or broken. Now, I believe in giving credit where credit is due, because I didn't write that. That came from the Daily Word, March and April of this year. And today is March 1. Look what was in the Daily Word. I'm like, what? That's right, Lizzie, at the level of spirit, no part of us can ever be missing or broken. Right? This insight from this March and April's Daily Word was like a clarion call to my soul. So thank you, Mama, for subscribing to the Daily Word and sending it to me. You know when your parents be sending you stuff. She got the subscription and gets it mailed to me because she want to make sure my soul is healthy. Right? It's like a clarion call. All healing is a return to the realization of wholeness. And I want to be clear that the wholeness that I'm speaking about and the realization of wholeness that I'm speaking about should not be confused with the absence of dis-ease. I'm going there. I'm taking all my feats today. I ain't scared. And I know this community isn't either, right? Wholeness should not be confused with the absence of disease. It should not be confused with the presence of optimal conditions, nor should it be confused with the performance of good behavior. Rebecca, you
Wait, say that last part again, please.
Oh, you want me to say it again, Tess? You want me to say it again? Here we go. Thank you. You know I believe in repetition. Wholeness should not be confused with the absence of dis-ease. It should not be confused with the presence of optimal conditions. And it should not be confused with the performance of good behavior. Now, I did write that part. You look like you want to say something, Tess.
Well, I'm typing to retain it. Thank you. Wholeness, it was that last part. Wholeness should not be confused with the performance of good behavior. Good behavior. That one is, that's very apropos for me.
Yeah, put it in the chat. I just took it
Thank
from
you.
my from my writings and dropped it in the chat for you. I hadn't planned to pause there, but it feels like there's some energy there. So I want to just pause for a moment and to see if there are things that might be stirring in and through you all that want to be expressed before I continue.
Well, this is me. I had to come off of mute and off of video. Okay. This conversation is something that I have been sitting with for some time now. Through my own process. And I really love and value and appreciate and honor how you first, when you proposed it to us, how you first said, let's look inward. And through my process of, restorative justice, transformative justice, and working with those that have committed deep harm and being able to see their wholeness and their pureness inside of them is directly connected to the times where I was the one doing the harm. Maybe I wasn't dropping bombs on people, but I hurt people. When I didn't have access to the pureness within my soul through trauma retention and my desire to seek safety, that led to harming folks. Impact and intent, right? I didn't intentionally do those things, but I did not know how not to because of the conditioning that I've had, went throughout my own life. In my grandmother's hands, he speaks to this very thing, that the trauma retention, the body, which our actions are expressed through, causes the harm, right? And this is not to negate the real life experiences that we all have experienced by way of other folks trauma retention, generational harm. But before there was the oppression and the slavery was done to Black folks, now I'm speaking about specifically, and those around the country, it was done in the medieval times to each other, right? And so knowing that, I remember times when my spirit and my consciousness was saying, don't do the thing. That's the prentice and the wholeness that was continue to speak to me. But I hadn't built up the practice and the muscle, right? And the safety and to access that, right? And when I think about being able to understand, and it's hard work, it's not easy. It's not easy work. But it was not easy work to look at myself and say, why did you just do that? What is causing you to do that? Why could you not do that? Until I learned and continued to learn and unravel. And a lot of the trauma retention and the harm, it has become a part of our culture, but it is not the fullness of who we are in our spirits and in our hearts and in our souls. And when you were talking about earlier about the unconditional love, how can you have the unconditional love? It's because I can look at the soul of an individual and know and understand that there is a pureness that's in there, right? Because we were all created by the divine, most high of God, knowledge, wisdom, and intelligence. And I can also understand that through the life experiences, the harm that you are doing is not right. And so I can love that part of you, and you can still not be over here where the fuck I'm at. Excuse my language to anybody. Right? And I got that, and then I'm gonna close. It's like, I won't throw you away, but you also ain't got to be over here. If that makes sense. I can still love the spirit for you and pray that you get what you need. And that God is able to reach those parts that somebody may not be able to. And that I don't have to be the one tasked to. And that you cannot continue to cause harm in this space. But there may be a space somewhere else where the person that can touch that aspect of you and revitalize you will be there for you, honey. And so this conversation is so needed. When I'm gonna say, I just said I'm gonna say this last thing, I'm gonna close, but I'm gonna say this last thing, and then I'm gonna close. When you were doing the Akoma Day, that night, I had a woman died inside the St. Louis City Jail, and I went to the jail, and I was there with her family, and with her family seeking answers all night long. And the next morning, I was tired, right? But I laid down and I just listened to some of it, and I went to sleep on the Zoom. I woke up, everybody was gone, child. Everybody was gone. But when I dreamed of us in a collective space, and we were just all together praying. And that just goes back to what I feel like is that the work that we're doing in the spirit world is just so necessary. And so that's what I have to say.
Love you so much, Tracy.
Yes, I love you too.
Oh, great teacher. You were like, I'm gonna have to come on the screen and I'm gonna have to unmute. On screen and unmute. Because some things must be said or must be heard. Hello. Some things must be heard. Yeah, there's so much richness. So much richness there. Like you have said in your most beautiful and profound way, something that I'm going to be fairly reductive about, which is, we don't have to confuse or conflate the being with the behavior, right? And that so much of our behavior is in response to metabolized pain and harm and suffering, and that it continues, right? Whatever we don't heal, we spread, right? In Resmaa Menakem's book, My Grandmother's Hands, he starts to explore the origins of sort of domination culture and subjugation in white civilizations, right? And in white culture preceding the American experience, and takes us back 1100, 1200, 1300 years ago in their particular lineage and set of experiences and how they colonized each other before they got to us, right? So there's a lot there, and you're saying like I had to do my own work. I had to look in myself, and be willing to engage. I'm sorry, I'm parenting and preaching at the same time. You know, it's an interesting thing, especially when they be trying to get the devices and sneak off. You know, I got to I'm dual consciousness, don't you know? Right? Because, but that, yeah, that the being is not the behavior, that we have to do our own work inside, that we'll find places and spaces where we have behaved in manners that have caused harm. No, excuse me for one moment. Okay. That we have to do this work. We don't have to, but the opportunity here is to do this work internally and to reconcile the parts of ourselves that have not only experienced harm, but that have also caused it, right? And to get curious about, you know, why am I engaged in this? Even when I know better, why have I not done differently? Or what skills and resources and equipping do I need to actually shift my behavior? What support do I need, right? And is the work all my own, right? To what extent are there pieces for me, and can I trust that the wider web of life will also have balms and medicines to help address hurts and harms that perhaps are beyond my own individual capacity to engage with proximity, but not beyond the collective wellspring, right, to address and to resolve. So Tracy, you brought up many things, and I appreciate your teaching and your sharing here. I think I want to play with and build on that a little bit, Tracy, and I want to lean into the parts that I said, that wholeness shouldn't be confused with the absence of disease, shouldn't be confused with the presence of optimal conditions, and shouldn't be confused with the performance of good behavior, right? I think the confusion, so let me be clear, because we get confused. I know I have certainly been confused. The confusion, I think, that keeps tripping me up, and that I think, quite honestly, keeps tripping so many others up, is that we've made wholeness synonymous with our ideals of perfection. We've made wholeness synonymous with perfection, our ideals of perfection. So in our conceptions of wholeness, and by extension the divine, then there's no room for bad parts. See, if what we're saying is wholeness, but what we really mean is perfection, there's no room for bad parts. We have to be deserving of love. And our souls have to be developed and reformed into flawless expressions of love. Any of you ever get those messages? Anybody get those messages? Right? By well-intentioned people trying to raise us up in the ways we should go. Right? I certainly got messages about there's no room for bad parts. My grandmother used to say, and let me tell you, y'all, I ain't casting aspersions on my grandmother because she's one of my greatest angels, and she loved me. She's one of the people who loved me the most in the world, ever, bar none. For her, I was her royalty, and that's how she greeted me. She would see me, and she would delight in my existence. She would see me, and she'd say, "Oh, my royalty." That's how she would greet me when she saw me. I was her only grandchild of her only child. Right? But that same lady told me when I was acting in ways that did not comport with her standards, okay, that the good Rebecca had to be in China somewhere. And the other one was who she was left with on that day. I'm just trying to help you out, Sally A, since you just beginning your grandmotherly journey. Okay. I used to be like, well, hell, there's two of me. Right? There's two of me. The good Rebecca was someplace else. And this one that she had that was, right here was clearly not the one that she had helped give life to. Right? So I heard that. I don't know where you heard that, but I heard that. There's sort of no room for these bad parts. And we have to be deserving. We have to deserve love. Anybody ever heard that? Anybody ever fall into the trap of believing that? We have to deserve love. And also these beautiful, precious souls that we have, they have to be developed. They have to be reformed. They have to be flawless. Now that's a Beyonce song. It is not a spiritual truth. They have to be flawless. So I don't have to tell you that confusing wholeness with perfection is one of our species' greatest spiritual traps. I think it's important to call it out. Right? Because I know that's what I meant often when I talked about wholeness. Was really I was saying perfection. That's really what I was saying. So I want to unpack that a little bit. Miss Alicia, I see your hand.
Miss Rebecca, thank you for sharing such a powerful wisdom and message. As you was talking, I was thinking, I'm also thinking what Tracy was saying too about because sometimes I feel guilt because I attended a group therapy session where the therapist explained the difference between shame and guilt, right? And oftentimes when I think I'm feeling shame, I'm actually feeling guilty and vice versa. And Tracy too, I share the same sentiment when I felt like I can love the spiritual part of the person and not necessarily the behavior or condone the behavior. And oftentimes feel like in order to quote unquote forgive that behavior, I also have to be a part, I have to continue to connect with those individuals. And thank you for giving me a framework to say that I can pray for you from afar, but I don't have to fuck with you and not feel guilty about it. Because I'm responsible for my own peace. I'm responsible for my own sanity and and social, emotional, and well-being. And when you talked about deserving of love, I grew up thinking that I was not deserving of love. I grew up thinking that I had to earn it. I had to do work and action to earn love. And if I don't, and if someone doesn't love me or show me love, that means I didn't earn it. When in fact, that as a human being, I should deserve love. Because when I read the scripture says that we should love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Regardless, whether they deserve it or not, but we should still give it. And that took some time to process that, because I know it's process. I'm like, how can I love somebody who doesn't love me? How can I give love to someone who doesn't quote unquote earn it? But then I had to flip it around and say that just like I deserve love, they deserve love too. So I had to rework or rewire, my thought process in terms of love. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm gonna close with this. How, in my question to you, Miss Rebecca, for someone who never experienced or understood love, how can that individual demand it or seek it, not knowing what it is or how it feels? Because I can only speak for myself. Not all of us grew up with that, and then, until we become an adult, and then we get around people like you guys to say, "Hey, I love you." I'm like, "Oh, what do they mean?" I don't. When you say you love, what does that mean? And so, how do we, who didn't grow up with love, learn to accept it and process it and know that love Love not only hurts, but it also feels good.
Miss Alicia, thank you so much for your sharing and for your chiming in and for your provocation, right? Which is if you haven't lived it or experienced it in a certain way, how do you know what it is, right? And thank you for teasing out distinctions between shame and guilt, right? And guilt often focuses on behavior, and shame often focuses on an identity, right? Like I'm bad, not just I did something bad, right? And those things can be complicated. Those things can be complicated for us. I do want to get back to your question. I do see Taya's hand, and I do want to say this other thing, and that is while we can make the distinction that the being is not the behavior, wholeness holds it all, the being and the behavior. I want to say that. So I want to say that the sort of psychological comfort that we often require because of a fairly narrow sense of identity that has to separate the being from the activity in order to be well is simply an intermediate state as we deepen and develop the capacity and sense of the thickness of ourselves. But wholeness, in its wholeness, is not bound by our frames of reference, nor does it need to separate in order to love. I'm just saying, wholeness can hold and meet the behavior and the beings with love. Now I'm gonna pause on that for a moment, open the floor for Taya, and we're gonna end up coming back to your question, Miss Alicia. Yes, ma'am.
I am adoring all this. And as I listen, the two things that come to mind and heart for me are emergence and audacity. And by emergence, I'm thinking of like what it means to stalk the healed future, for example, and the way that often I might think of that as like a fixity of like, oh, there's somewhere we're trying to get, or there's some like destination. And I feel like the more I do what some would call timeline work of like playing with different futures, different possibilities, kind of suspending a way of relating to the now and understanding ourselves can always in the dynamic of becoming, like the notion of wholeness just is pulsing, evolving, like there is no fixity. And so like emergence feels important to me as a quality. And also I've been in so many conversations with folks in Empower community, like when we were doing the ancestral work and other work around like trauma or ancestral healing of like, oh, how do we root in wellness over trauma? And for me, that conversation is less relevant or less the distinction I play in now, orienting instead toward like radiance, audacity, exuberance, like imagining and attuning to an energy that's like far more phenomenal than maybe we've been taught to seek or settle for. And I'm finding that, and that doesn't at all negate also the fragmentation that can be a part of that. But it's like, I think for a while I was looking for a kind of wellness that was capped in my human consciousness of like, oh, this is what good looks like. This is what it means. And as I'm kind of suspending like societal norms or like my, like what I've been entrained as like normal in the human body to like expect. And as I attune to ancestral exuberance and to like magics on a next level, I feel like the conversation just has shifted and keeps shifting for me. And so I'm excited as you're talking about wholeness, like it meets for me what is like just a way of experiencing possibility that is just different than it used to be. And I'm really excited about that.
Come on with emergence and radiance and audacity. And others, yes, Taya. Yes to stalking the healed future. Yes to not conflating wholeness with the fixity. There's a dynamism within wholeness, right? And you've given a nod to that. So, and yes. Indeed. So Miss Alicia, I'm gonna come back to this question, but go ahead. Who just unmuted?
I did. I have an idea or a thought about the domination that you spoke of earlier, and Tracy alluded to. In medieval European societies, people enslaving one another, and then, of course, in the United States, like the establishment of whiteness as being domination and erasure. And it occurs to me that there's something about that fixity. It's that kind of hierarchy that is predicated on violence and like human and non-human and control. It requires, demands, and maintains a fixity, a frozenness. Everything is stayed in its location, societally, racially, ethnically. I mean, you see this in the caste system in India. You see this in South Africa. I mean, whatever. We know that there are many illustrations of this thus far in our human history. But in our human future and this emergence of this new thing, there is this wholeness that is modeled for us in nature. And this is like the helpful model of mycelial networks and our more than human kin, that is always dynamic, in that it's always emerging. Like the seed, I mean, even a tree is experiencing changes. If they're too subtle to the perceived to our human eye, it doesn't mean that they're not happening. There is a dynamic thing. And so I'm just very excited and grateful today, especially, but like to be incarnate at a time when we're all remembering this together as a human species and evolving as the planet is shifting rapidly. Like for this, we all are. We're bringing in the new way. And it's fantastic.
Thank you, Tess. Thank you. It's fantastic in this having us look at fixity and our and the addictions to it, right? To fixity, if I were to use another word, control. Control and fixity are, related for sure, and are indications in those places where we often feel stuck. They're indications that there are, again, harms and hurts and fears that have not been processed, right? Haven't been processed or haven't been restored to some state of wholeness, and that is true both in our personal experience and in our collective consciousness, right? So, indeed, I wanna go back. I want to spend just a little bit more time with disentangling wholeness from perfection, because I didn't get that clear about it until recently. So I want us to keep teasing that, and as we move forward to keep playing with that. It's a spiritual trap that wholeness means perfection. Perfection by design excludes, it separates, and it ranks or hierarchizes. I don't even know if that's a word. Is that a word? Hierarchizes, right? Perfection by design excludes, separates, and ranks, and there is an orientation to preserve the separations and ranks, which you all called fixity, to control, right? Wholeness contains the multitudes. It contains all of the life stuff that we call existence. All of it, y'all. All of the life stuff. In wholeness, no parts of us can ever be missing or broken. Though they may be rejected, they may be alienated, they may be forgotten, they may be idolized. In fact, I think what we call God is an idolized version, is an idolized part, don't you know? I'm just saying. Mama, don't spank me. I saw your eyes go up, right? but I think it's an idolized part. And I think we've had to outpicture it because we can't because we have difficulty in picturing it as us. Wholeness includes demons and divinities and holds them with spiritual integrity in loving, mutually beneficial relationship. Rebecca, what you say, Simone, is your hand in your hand? Sister, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. But wholeness includes demons and divinities and holds them with spiritual integrity. Can you imagine something so great, so vast that it can hold with spiritual integrity and loving and mutually beneficial relationship, demons and divinities? Ah. Mm-mm. I'm gonna come at that in a different way. Because sometimes, you got to come at it. I'm trying to have it sit in my soul too. I'm playing with it. I'm playing with it in real time, you all. In real time. It's not like I have it all figured out. I'm playing with it. The central challenge here is to even be able to conceive of wholeness when so much of our daily consciousness is bound by dichotomy and duality. Right, that's what we're running up against, Mama. So your whole orientation, Reb Maybell, on unity consciousness and all of that, the unitive version of spirit, like you're trying to get us someplace that has spiritual integrity that isn't by design exclusive. And it's not predicated upon judgments and layers of deserving and worthiness and right and wrong and good and bad. Right? So much of our meaning making is just like colonized by this duality. But there is an integrity that can hold the vastness of being. Actually, there is an integrity that holds and is the thickness of being, the thickness of our dimensionality. In aspects of my life, I am demon. I am hurtful pattern or practice. Hurtful pattern or practice that predictably generates harm, imbalance. Right? I can see it. Can anybody else see in your life where you have patterns and practices that predictably bring about, hurt for yourself or for others? Even despite what Tracy says, even when we don't really want it to, even when we know we should. And in parts of my experience, I'm divinity, right? I predictably show up with deep care, regard, right? Curiosity, creativity, support, like, oh my goodness. And can I imagine a wholeness vast enough that holds those parts of me in mutually beneficial relationship? Where, right? Dichotomy and duality cause us to repeatedly occlude great spiritual truths. Like, 1, in wholeness, there are no bad parts. Here's a different reframe, because I've said that before, but let me add a piece to that. There are no bad parts. Why? Because everything presents opportunities to experience and express love. Everything presents opportunities to experience love and to express love, which is our essential nature. That's how my demons and divinities, are in mutually beneficial relationship held by the spiritual integrity of wholeness, because everything, all parts are therefore not only useful but beneficial to soul. All parts, all parts. You've heard me say before, soul wastes nothing. It is the consummate recycler. It uses it all. It uses the places where I fall short and predictably cause harm. Not surprisingly. Well, you know, there are times when I surprise myself, but predictably, like it actually uses. So, like the essence of me that is love uses everything to experience love or to express love, engage love in some way. And there have been no parts that have not benefited from love, either experiencing it more, often because they perceive themselves as not having it. Miss Alicia talked about that. Or of expressing it more. Because it's within and it's in and it wants to be expressed. And all of the places and spaces where it's constrained, even constrained righteously. Like, I can't love this. I can't love that. I can't, like, we're all, because with all these, like, all those parts, somehow I find myself still yearning and desiring to express love beyond constraint and constriction. Carolyn, your hand is up.
Can you hear me well? Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Well, hi, community. I love you all. I feel so enriched by being in this circle, so deeply enriched. What's coming to mind for me, Rebecca, as I take in this teaching is, you all know I have an adopted adult child who has pretty severe mental health stuff and behavioral stuff. And so often I've heard like how lucky he is that he has me. And that's true. That's true. But his stuff is just what I've needed to grow in love and to grow in the capacity to truly see goodness beneath all, right? It's like I'm so lucky to have him showing me something about my limitations to love, but also inviting me to expand those limitations. I've been so lucky. And he's my greatest teacher here. And extending that to my relationship with myself, I have parts of myself that engage in dysfunctional behaviors in pursuit of their limited understanding, their limited awareness of how to achieve some good end. They engage in dysfunctional strategies. And my son has been one of my teachers in these parts that engage in these dysfunctional strategies. While I could just make them bad, I could also embrace them like my son as my teachers in bringing love within, right? That these parts of me are showing me the way to reach myself in love and to come to myself with compassion and curiosity in a way that releases me. Oh my goodness.
Is Carolyn breaking up for anybody else?
Yes, I was wondering if it was my phone. Yes, Carolyn is breaking up.
you all, what happened is my son Ghana called me. And so the phone, the internet disconnected because my son was calling me. The very son I'm talking about,
Come
the very
on.
son that I've been wondering for 3 days if he's going to call me back, was calling me back at this moment, signing up to be part of this conversation that acknowledges what a blessing he is.
Yeah.
And so I'm just extending that to all within us that cries out in need of love through dysfunctional behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah. That in fact that which we might abhor, that which we might be afraid of, that which challenges us in our understanding of ourselves and our world, as we engage, might reveal more of the dimensionality of who and what we are, get us to touch even more and engage even more of what is at our core. Carol and I have found a similar truth through the love of my children, and the places and spaces that I thought were my limitations, as I have encountered ways of processing and being that are different from my own. And it has enabled me to see my reflexive orientations to control and domination in ways that I had not seen before in other aspects of my life. Right? That I got to see more clearly, like how much resistant I was. I'm like, diversity is great until.
Totally.
Right? Until it contradicts my notions of things, until it upsets some things. And then to be able to look at my own patterns and responses and to look for ways of loving myself and loving them through my conditioned tendencies to make things conform to what I want and how I want. It's some work for your ass.
Right.
Do you hear me?
And this is inner and outer.
Absolutely.
And what is just done to me about the IFS model, this parts work, is that these parts of ourselves that engage in dysfunctional strategies, they don't respond to anything other than love and care and compassion. They don't respond to anything else. They don't respond to our discipline. They don't respond to our judgment. They don't respond to our self-chastising. They only come around when they're greeted in love. And they know when something else is going on. And I'll say that with my son too. My son Ghana, I've seen him bitterly attack people. And it was totally wrong what he did. But it was always when he really knew this person had no love in their heart for him. Thank you for receiving.
Thank you for sharing. Tracy, I see your hand.
Yeah, y'all getting into it today. Is this what I really want to say? We're getting into it today. So needed and necessary for such a time as this, like you already said, prior to even knowing what the fullness and the range of what everybody was coming into, and finding the place in the middle that what the spirit had already tasked you to bring in. I really want to speak to what Miss Alicia said around not knowing or not feeling that she or we were loved. And on my soul retrieval process and like my reclamation and doing some imagery rescripting, I told myself throughout my life that I was not loved. And it's because of the trauma, one, that I experienced, and the ways in which my perception of love that I didn't receive from like my mother blocked me from being able to receive the many ways in which I had received love, because I didn't get it from that dominant person that played such a role in my life. And through the retrieval process, I was able, actually my cousin sent me a picture of me and my aunt, who was always there, right? Who was always there. And this was on Christmas. and she was giving me a gift. And when I looked into her eyes as she was passing me that gift, it dispelled all of the years of heartache and pain that I took myself through because I had perceived and created this narrative that I was not loved at all, which was definitely not true. And then that allowed me to open up pathways to even think about when there was this one teacher that paid a little bit more attention to me, or this one cousin that, used to just take me around. So it allowed me to see more of the ways in which I did actually experience love. And then to know and understand that my mother, who was, at that time that had 6 other children, that was in a relationship with an abusive husband, that I found out from my sister used to always send us to church, all of the ways that she did love me, but I could not see it based on the trauma that I experienced. And so I just want to Miss Alicia, just, if there is any opportunities for you to do some, retracing. And I also understand that your story and what you offered is your story, right? But I want to say from my experience, it's always more to the story. And when we sit, we sit and do some reflection, and when we sit and do some reflection and expound and explore and expand, what it is that we're looking for, we may be able to see inklings um, of that which we seek. And so I just wanted to say that.
T Spirit. T Spirit. Thank you, thank you, thank you for not letting us forget that question, Holy Healer, right? And bringing us back to it is often not the absence of love, but it is the love that is there is occluded. It's hard to see, detect, and discern because of the filters, right? We have filters, and trauma is a filter. It filters out lots and lots and lots of information and colonizes and captures our mind, focuses our hearts and minds on pain and suffering, right? So it becomes difficult to hold the more than the suffering with that. And that as we do our work, as we get increasingly supported and loved and well, as our instrumentation refines, that is our ability to see, to perceive more clearly the many dynamics, we will find that there's a fuller story. There's a fuller story, but it's hard to get that because when you're hurting, like when I'm hurting, I look, I don't be seeing all the other stuff. You understand what I'm saying? I'm hurting, right? So yeah, the weather might be beautiful in Tahiti, but I'm not in Tahiti. Understand? Yes, there might be food in the refrigerator, but did I tell you that I'm hurting? Right? That food in the refrigerator, even if you put it in my mouth, will taste like sand, will not feel like nourishment. Right? And that as we get in this thing and we start to heal more of the story, we start to resuscitate and revive more of the story, because what that trauma does, what that pain does, what that suffering does is it flattens our life experience. It flatlines it. It takes something that is multidimensional, right? And it presses the juice out of it. Right? So this is so important because there is more to the story, but we often need to find our way to it. And this is why we need community, because community, our people, the other people around us don't necessarily have the same filters that we have. They might be able to see and discern what we cannot, right? The picture might show, oh, there's Auntie, and Auntie was giving me a gift, and da 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 da. And sometimes we say we didn't get the love because it didn't come through the pathway that we expected, which is different than it not being there, right? I did not get the love from my father. Real talk, I didn't get it from him. He didn't give it to me. I didn't get it from him. When I was growing up, it didn't happen, right? It came later, but it didn't happen then. But you know what? I had 4 uncles. Only one of them biologically related to me. And those uncles, one who was gruff and cantankerous, one who was present, but he had his own issues, another who was suffering with addiction, and another who never seemed to be loved quite as well as he deserved, managed to love me and to demonstrate care, but it didn't come from my father, right? And so it didn't come from my father. Like, my father didn't love me, and men can't be trusted, and they not good, and da 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 da. You see all that happened, but I had these 4 uncles, y'all. Right, as we start to do this work, right? Like, yes, my childhood in many ways was framed by the abandonment of my father, and yes, and I feel like we're straight in improv world right now. Yes, and it took a long time to be able to see and appreciate the and what the hell was on the other side of that and. And the more we do this work, the more our filters change, right? The more the instruments that are doing the perception change. I'll say one other thing, and Delisha, I'll get to you, but you were talking about acts of soul retrieval. The team gave me, the Empower team gave me a float experience for my birthday, and I went to go float. Now, I haven't floated since before COVID, when I took all of them to go float, right? But I got in the float and closed the thing, and the water and the sound, and ooh, it was so beautiful. And I was just drifting, and there was nothing particularly in my mind. And then all of a sudden, Spirit took me to an experience. Mama, you'll appreciate this. When I was in labor and delivery with my second child, and I almost died. I hemorrhaged in severe and significant ways. And y'all know the end of the story. I'm alive. Y'all seen Sage, right? So you know how like this works. But in the experience, there was a lot of danger, and she flatlined in her breathing. And if you can imagine a room full of chaos where there are 8 to 10 medical professionals trying to revive and resuscitate her, and there are 8 to 7 people trying to work on me and keep me here. There's a lot that was going on. And there was my mama, and there was my husband, and there's the doula, and there's the acupuncturist, our team, right? But things were touch and go. And I managed to live through it. You know how you have a traumatic experience or a difficult experience, and you manage to live through it, but you don't necessarily unpack it all, right? So I managed to live through it. The baby's okay. I'm okay. We just keep it moving. But in that water on that day, all of a sudden, all the floodgates opened, and the well of fear and grief just started pouring out. And then an extraordinary vision, which had been completely occluded. I could not perceive it at the time. I could see all of the beings that were in the room, and I ain't talking people neither, that had been actively working to keep us here. I mean, the room was thick with a level of divine support that escaped my notice for 11 years. I had not perceived at all. But in touching the grief and the fear, also what I touched was the tremendous amount of divine support, of cosmic care that was simultaneously being delivered, along with the imperiling and endangered circumstances. But I couldn't see it. And now I could see it. And that made me even more like, whoo. Because how did I miss it? And I'm spiritual and all. I'm spiritual. I'm supposed to see the spirits and the presence of God. And I didn't. Because there was too much There was too much at risk there. There was too much fear. There was too much hurt. There was too much uncertainty. There was too much risk of loss, right? There was all of that, all of that was bundled. And whenever I went back to that experience, what I went back to was the threat and the ways that life was imperiled. I couldn't touch all of the ways that my life was being resourced by the many beings who were on the post that day. That is to say, I couldn't see all of that love. Now, you know, is it possible, Delisha, that isn't like a one and done? It only happens under exceptional circumstances when life is perceived as imperiled, but that there's always a level of cosmic resource of love that is knitted into the very fabric of each moment and the dimensions of our being that often escapes our awareness, but is no less present and no less real because we don't perceive it with our instrumentation and our typical senses. So this gets at the, like, as we are in this thing, more is revealed, literally, to us. Delisha, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I love this conversation. I am scattered. My heart is beating, my mind's all over the place, so I'm gonna share what comes out, and I don't know if the stuff gonna tie. But I think a couple of the beliefs that I've adopted from people in this space and from conversations in this space that have been really helpful for me around this. Number one, the idea of like no separation from you, Rebecca, that has been life changing. Lizzie, one day, this idea of like, I haven't been loved, and what does it mean to be loving, and how do you earn or deserve love? I remember one day Lizzie was just like, you are love. And that shift from like thinking about love as something outside of me to something that I am, and something that is available everywhere, has been also transformative as you take on that belief. And then I remember one day Carolyn said that she was no longer believing in the concept of hell. And I think releasing myself from the idea of evil, releasing myself from the idea of like hell, there's a way that when folks are having these conversations about Trump and Epstein files and all of these stuff, that there's this like, it's so inhumane. I could never be that. I could never, I could never. And it's very human. And very much, I think this exercise of trying to be like, how do humans become this? How do humans do this? I think is also important. But the thing that I'm sitting with that is, I think is helpful, has been helpful for me, is being a part of like communities, and I'm thinking specifically of like kink communities that have given me places to play with some of these like more icky parts, has been so helpful to understand, because there's so many ways where it's like, if we say this stuff as practice, we don't really get practice to be with like, to play with domination, to even understand like, who am I, who do I want to be, how does this show up for me, what does this connect like for me. And I would love for us to have more spaces to kind of play with these parts, and even being in community that encourages me to be like, play with the villainous part, play with jealousy, play with control, see like what that brings like up for you, has helped me to like just be so much more curious and compassionate, and like to relate to all these parts really differently. I'm like, in the past year, I've been trying to play with like a part of me that is like manipulative, and it's helped me to understand. At first, and I would have just avoided it and been like, that's weird, I don't want to go there. But as I'm understanding it, and I can approach it with this level of neutrality, I'm able to say like, oh, this part actually helps me to see when I'm being manipulated. This part is actually me trying to get certain things. Like, it's, these parts might feel dysfunctional, but they all serve a function, and they're all getting us these things that we want. And as I get to understand this part more, even my perfectionist part, which is who was with me a lot last week, and it's just like, these things are so tangled, and there's all these narratives we have about them, and there's all these ways that like we can judge them. And even when we're saying there's no binary of good and evil, there's a way that we can still say domination is bad, control is bad, perfectionism is bad. And I'm finding as I play with these parts more that they are actually functional. And it's like, oh, this is what I do when I am afraid. This is what I do when I want to get something. I don't want to just ask for it directly because I'm afraid of being rejected, so I will be manipulative. Like, it's helpful, or like my perfectionism has like it has been a way that I have learned to be an overachiever and to keep growing. And I'm learning that there's other pathways I need to develop in order for me to grow without having to be so hard on myself and so judgmental of other people. But the space to play with these different parts has just like led me to it's it's helped me to learn, I don't know, just have a way more nuanced relationship with them. And even I think sometimes we think about the so I think sometimes we think about like domination as bad or power as bad. And I feel like the models we get of domination and of power that we constantly see are maybe the ones that we think are hurtful. But there's so many different ways that you can play with these things and hold these things, and you can actually learn how much responsibility comes when you're put in a position to have power over people. How much, yeah. So I don't know. I just want us to play with these parts more, even the parts that we think of as like dysfunctional or bad. I think they can teach us a lot about like how they are serving us and what we can learn from them, and it just approach. I want us to have more communal spaces to play with them also, because I think we need people to be able to say like, okay, you were playing with manipulation, you were playing with power, and this is how it resulted. Let's talk about that. Why did you go for this? Why did you use power in this way? Why did you manipulate in this way? But when there's spaces where you're not supposed to even acknowledge those parts, we're supposed to be like suppressing those parts, that they come out anyway, and they come out in harmful ways, and then we also just don't get to learn from them. So yeah, lots of different sporadic thoughts. Hopefully something landed and made sense. Thank you for letting me share.
Delisha, all of it made sense. And yes, yes, and yes. And thank you for showing the subtle ways where where dichotomy still sort of kicks itself in. I'm reminded of the space that Tess held for us maybe a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was a month ago, but when she had us do like the theater piece, and we revisited the well, and we got a chance to be the man waiting at the well, and the savior, and we got a chance to be the people who condemned um a miracle on that day as being out, not in alignment with the rules, right? That the opportunity to inhabit, right, different aspects of being, of our being, and dimensions of our being, and to try it on, right, and to come from a lens not with distance, right? Now, this is what gets really interesting when you talk about play, right? Play and engagement. On the one hand, when we feel ourselves threatened like that, we want to separate this from that, and we want to keep that over there while we do this thing. But what your play does is create a portal for intimacy with that which we revile, or that which we fear, or that which we, right? It allows us to inhabit that without being in mortal danger in the same way, right? Even though there might for sure be senses of emotional or psychological dangers. We touch material that we've been avoiding for a long time. But I love this idea, and not just an idea, you're actually issuing a call to us to be able to play and practice together, and that's an opportunity for our collective deepening. And so I appreciate way spaces that lean into kink allow for and create this opportunity to embrace dimensions of ourselves and dimensions of being that often are pushed to the sidelines. I'm going to take up your call to action for our community, and with you and with others. So I'm going to ask if there's some real interest that we convene a group that might want to figure out how we hold space for more play and practice in this, because these are times to get more practice and honestly to become more skillful. And I really say that because what's tripping us up, like the I can't imagine, and how do we respond to what's happening out there in the world, and how do we respond in a way that doesn't replicate patterns of harm, right? Like we actually just need some different stimuli and some different settings that can help us show up in ways that are full of love and that are transformative with regard to our own experience and the wider range of experience. I did say that Carolyn and I will be in this cohort for the next 5 months. It starts this week, and we'll be in it every week for 5 months. And so I'm also hoping, and there's some certification or something that might come out of that. But what I'm hoping for is also more tools, right? And more insights for what could be useful in this space, along with my own unfolding, because a portion of this also is our own sort of therapeutic work in this space, that's distinct from learning a practice that we can then share, but it's practicing ourselves. So, indeed. So I'm saying, yeah, Delisha, let's. And so more to come. And I think this year is the year for it, right? It's our 10th anniversary. The circumstances where we are, we're ready to deepen and develop together and collectively in these ways. So thank you for that. The answer is yes. But it'll be a committee work, right? Right. So we'll figure it out together. And the last things, and I know we are over time. So you spoke to one of the other 2 points that I wanted to make in closing. Delisha, you spoke to the very next point that I wanted to make. So the first one was there are no bad parts, and everything presents opportunities to engage our core, right? And I call that core love, to experience and express love, which is our essential nature. And so all these parts are useful, which is what you were saying. They're playing, they have roles, they have medicine, they have purpose. And not only are they useful, but they're actually beneficial. That's a distinction there too. They're beneficial to the soul, even though our ability to discern that is often dampened by the extent to which we are still we are hurting. But that was one point. The point that you ended up mentioning, I'm going to say it a little differently than you said it, but I think they're parallels. Is that in wholeness? I want to be clear. Love is never deserved. In wholeness, love is never deserved. You were talking about a point that Lizzie made, right? And so I would say in wholeness, love is never deserved. It simply is. It simply is. We may be more or less aware of the love that is, of the love that is in us, with us, through us, for us, around us, is us, right? We may be more or less aware of that, depending on our states of consciousness and the extent to which we identify with our conditions. Right? That is what might be shaping our awareness of love, but it's not deserved. Love is. Love is. And if this confounds, like, when's the last time you went outside and got the air because you were deserving of it? I'm just asking. Like, did you fill out the cosmic survey to determine whether or not you could breathe today? Like, did you meet the minimum threshold for inspiration? Okay. Right? I mean, when's the last time you deserved gravity to keep you from moving off this planet that's spinning, I don't know how many tens of thousands of miles per minute? Or when's the last time you deserved the ground? Like, I mean, it is. Love is. Love is never deserved. But that really challenges us, because what we learned, what so many of us learned, is that love is deserved, love is earned. Love is a reward for conformity. And I think the last point that I wanted to make, and Stacey, I see your hand, so I'll pause for a moment.
One of the questions I've been asking myself lately, well, maybe not so lately, for a while, is how to, in what I would deem the ugliest of places, how do I recognize the God that is in that thing? Because as I said before, I know it's there. The really hard thing is for me to be able to see it. And in the ugliest of places, and what my spirit knows and knows well and has known all of this lifetime is, even for those things that I deem ugly, I do not want to get to the place where I hate, because I recognize the harm that that is doing to me, in addition to the harm that it does to whoever the object of that hate is. So I've been clear about that. But there's a different thing, it's another level to simply not hate. To get to in that ugliness, that thing that I deem ugly, to say, not only do I see you're ugly, but I see God in you, and I see love in you. I see me in you. And as you say, to love anyway. That is for me. For others, not so much. That for me, that's the hard thing. And I think I've gotten a lot better at doing it internally. The external, which is itself a reflection of the internal, is this, so that now it's that circular thing. That's where I'm like, okay, I see where you are, spirit. And isn't that a task? And more I'm seeing that is a task for all of us. Even for those of us who feel like we've gotten somewhere. I'm like, there's a whole bunch more where to get. And the world is really, 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 really showing us. It is such a tremendous, yes, test, but also classroom for kind of spiritual work and growth. And for me, one of the biggest challenges, like, how obvious can it get where you have people like Trump, you have pedophiles, you have like all of the ways the ugly shows up. And somehow I have to figure out the God in that, because it's there. I'm not negating what you're saying at all. I'm like, this is some work. Like you were saying before, this is some work for your ass. I'm like, this is some work for our asses. It's not easy, but I also trust that it is absolutely worthwhile. There's a gift in these things that is not apparent, but it's there. I trust that too, that it's there. I'll stop.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, I didn't take what you were saying as contradicting what we were saying. In fact, I thought it was well timed and really picking back up some of what we were saying, handling it. Tess, I also see your contribution in the chat. Yes, like when you say, like, how can I see the God in like the really, 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 really horrible things, right? Or even the people that I would call really, really, really horrible, or the aspects of myself, or the aspects of experience. I think Delisha is positing an answer in some ways, right? And Delisha, forgive me, I'm not trying to speak for you, but I do want to draw some connections that I don't think it is possible for us to find the God in them, in those things, with distance. With distance. Now, this is a hard part. This is a hard part because, again, distance provides a certain amount of protection, a certain amount of psychological comfort, right? It gives some insulation, it provides some buffer. But when Delisha says we have to play with it, we have to play with it, we have to be willing to inhabit it in order to have a more dimensional relationship with it that is more than reflexive separation. then the conundrum it presents, the way it confounds us, right? It confounds that I need distance to be safe, right? That and that distance to be safe might very well be useful as a temporary, hear me when I say as a temporary state. As I am equipping, tooling, resuscitating, revitalizing the dimensionality, like the more radiant I am, the more emergent I am, the more badass and audacious I am, the less fragile my sense of self, which is what requires the distance. Because the invitation here in wholeness is to get into the dimensionality and the thickness of being. Because that is what wholeness is. And anything I keep at bay, I'm going to have difficulty processing, seeing, engaging, harmonizing, understanding, being like I'm right? I've got to make it proximal. I got to be willing to engage it and to not fear that I'll be destroyed by it. And that's the and that requires some readiness, which is why I say the distance is useful, but it's a temporary state. While I can get the fortification and reinforcement, while my sense of self and my sense of support expand, are enhanced, are vitalized, revitalized, because the hurt flattens and flatlines. So I need aspects of me to be revitalized in order to touch that which is hot, and to trust that there's benefit in the fire. Yeah. So it feels to me, though, that in your framing, Stacy and Alicia, what I'm sensing is that there's a level of readiness in this community, in our community, to lean in. And maybe it's taken us 10 years as a collective, right? Because this is our 10th year as a collective to be ready enough collectively, right? But it feels like this is where we are, and this is what wants to be and emerge through us and with us. Mama, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm also aware of the time. So, two quick thoughts. One, when you talked about proximity being required, the ability to lean in, it reminds me of Brian Stevenson's discussion about how he needed to be close to those people who were incarcerated so that he could understand and see and feel their humanity. And that really inspired a lot of his work, and I really appreciate that. But the other thing that came up when you were talking about how soul wastes nothing, it uses everything, even the dark side, or maybe especially the dark side. I'm reminded of a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, who said he would not want to experience a heaven that had no pain. And that sounded, strange for me. But his reasoning is that pain elicits compassion. And that's the hardness. There's no lotus without the mud, right? And I had, first of all, I have been dispelling the notions of heaven being some perfect place over there, out there after I die. So, but when he was talking about heaven, he was conceptualizing it in a different way. And and the necessity for there being trauma, evil, pain, hurt, all the things we've been talking about. The necessity for having those two in our human experience to allow us to provide an opportunity for compassion was something that I was also working with and have been working with, especially in this day and time. The last thing I want to say, there is a book entitled The Spirituality of Imperfection, and it is written by Ernest Kurtz and Catherine Ketchum. And you know, they use addiction as an example of circumstances that some of us, like myself, have found ourselves having to deal with. The condition, the behaviors, the stigma, all of the stuff, the remorse, all of the stuff that comes with alcohol addiction, for example, and the shame, thinking that, oh Lord, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life, but being the very thing that has allowed me to grow through my sense of unworthiness. You talked about being deserving of love, right? Or feeling worthy. It is the reason that pain was a necessity for me that allows me to be here with you today, for real. And I'm going to leave it alone. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing, Mama. Thanks for sharing. It's time to wrap it up, you all. But this has been so good. This has been so good, so good, so good. I was trying to come up with a different topic, y'all. This week I really was. I was like, I ain't trying to go back to that first Sunday in February. I'm just going. We gonna do a different topic. Nope, 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 nope. So, Mama, I appreciate the resource, the spirituality of imperfection, and I appreciate the framing, the lotus in the mud, the way that these things work together, the spiritual integrity that exists beyond our dichotomy, the spiritual integrity that exists beyond dichotomy, the spiritual integrity that exists beyond dichotomy. Thank you so much for giving us metaphor and for sharing the wisdom of Thich Nhat Hanh, who also presents that in a way that can confound our ordinary consciousness, right? Like, who wants a heaven with pain? Like, isn't heaven supposed to be the absence of pain? Like, hey, look, we had enough of that while we were alive. Can we please get to something else? But the way that creates the conditions for the experience and expression of compassion really might have us sit down. And this notion that proximity has its uses, that distance is the toolkit, is a tool for those who are getting ready. How about that? Distance is a tool for those of us who are getting ready. And the more ready we get, the less that becomes the tool that we might need, right? And it makes me also think about, I have an orientation to reincarnation. So I have a belief in reincarnation, and I know that not everybody shares that or has that as a part of their belief system or even tradition. But it makes me think about how reincarnation is really an opportunity for proximity. Right? Like, oh, so I was this and that. I was an enslaver, and this time I'm enslaved. Or I'm like, let me try out being a volcano. Now let me try being the sea, or let me, right? Like this, I just marvel, right? I just marvel at the many ways that that our souls might go about inhabiting experiences, right? That aid in our understanding of ourselves. Which brings me to the point that I will close on today, and that is this. In wholeness, our souls don't have to be developed. In wholeness, our souls don't have to be developed. Again, take what I say with a grain of whatever. If it works for you, hold it and play with it in your mouth. If not, you can spit it out. But if our souls are already whole, if wholeness, right, what more would they need to be developed into? What our souls want, in my estimation, is to be creatively engaged and experienced and expressed. Engaged and experienced and expressed, but they don't have to be made into something better. And I think that's really important for me because so much of all that original sin and this and that and needing to have, what's at our core isn't good and it has to be reformed and has to be flawless. But if my soul is already whole, then perhaps it uses these experiences so that my ordinary consciousness, my awareness of my wholeness, and my experience of the wholeness that I am, is more full, is more dynamic and vibrant. I'm running into some limitations with language here, but I'm hoping that you're picking up what I'm putting down. This process of what we call spiritual development is a misnomer in some ways because it suggests, acquisition. We must get what we are not. And we are it. The invitation is to be more fully what we are. I'll close there. I love you, Spirit Rising family. We managed to get to 135 today. You know what I'm saying? 135 today. We have outstretched even Latasha, who made me host. So I'm going to invite you all to come off of mute and to greet each other. Let's greet each other as we close, right? Just expressing our gratitude for our time together today.
Blessed day, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank
Love
you.
all.
Wonderful.
Hey, everybody. Love y'all, guys.
Love you all so much.
Love y'all so much.
Love.
This was so beautiful.
Thank you.
Much love. Much
Peace,
love.
Hey, Mama Bennett.
Hey, Alicia, how are you?
I'm good. Now I heard your voice. Y'all have a good one. Happy Sunday. Good night, y'all. Goodbye.
All right. You too. Take care.
Good. So long. We're going to have a committee now. We're going to get this committee that's going to play with this because we're going to do it for real.
So now, Rebecca, please do not omit me in what you do. So if you're having a retreat or if you're scheduling an activity, I would certainly like to be informed and included.
Me too, because I get excluded
Are you
from stuff
on
if I'm not there.
Are you on the listserv? I have to ask because sometimes people are and sometimes people are not. So you get Spirit Rising emails, Mama, and Stacey?
But I didn't get one for today. I had to go to the former one.
Okay.
There was a time when I got some email.
Pull up Spirit Rising, and the last time I got that was for the last. Oh no, I got an email about the service that Mo did.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I didn't get that.
Okay. So that's just a note to me then that I need to write this down. I need to make sure. It seems like Mama, you might be on. Seems like Stacey, you might not. That I need to make sure that you all are on. And I will let you know when we come up with the committee, because I think this is the work. I mean, I think it's right in this moment, the reason why it keeps coming to us. And I think what is happening is we are we are being invited to build some antibodies,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Right, some collective antibodies and some collective medicine in these times. Adande and I met this week about the year to come and what some of the changes are going to be presenting for us. So later this month, we're going to hold a gathering, I think on the 3rd March, to talk about the evolution, the third Sunday to talk about the evolution of Spirit Rising. Um, because you may not have been with us the last week when Carolyn stepped down, so she's not going to be leading second Sundays anymore. She's going to stay a part of the community, but she's preparing to move. So she's going to be going to Vermont and then possibly building a community for Earthkeeper Wisdom School beyond that, right? So she's going to stay an integral member of our community, but she's stepping out of leadership as she moves through this transition period and uproots life and does all of that. And that presented an opening, right? Like we could keep going the way we have been going, or we could use this as a moment to really discern how do we evolve with one another, evolve and deepen. And since I started this thing, I don't know, almost 30 years ago, in one form or fashion or another, we've been meeting every Sunday with the message and a da 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 da.
Yeah.
And we might end up doing some things differently. Just know we're going to invite Mo to step up and become like a one of the midwives. They're ready and they want to. And we're going to hold space for more community members to step into ministry, right? Two, and we're going to be thinking and acting beyond this setting together, because that's what's really happened if as our attentions have been dispersed, right? I'm mindful, Stacy, that you were wanting opportunities for practice and engagement beyond this space too, and you've been talking about that for at least the last year. Our ability to lean into that has been fairly constrained. But things are changing, right? So I think it feels like, ooh, there's something here for us to do by way of practice, right? Together. And we'll dream that. So I'm going to invite you all for sure to be with us on the call if you can, the 3rd Sunday in March. It won't be the only time we discuss, but it's when we formally mark that we are moving into how do we want to evolve together.
It's good that you're telling us now, or telling me now, because otherwise I wouldn't necessarily know to show up on that particular day.
Yeah. And Mama Love is falling back some also because of her recovery, right? She had the major hip replacements, and it's done a number, and her home and her entire neighborhood was hit very, very hard by the tornado. So, and that process is not going well, truthfully. So we've had 3,000 plus applications for home repair and only 31 repairs made in 9 months, right? It's really just unconscionable. So the invitation, like whenever you have major change like this, it's just an invitation to be like, well, what wants to be, and how does it want to be? So I'm saying to you all, this gets exciting, and I would love it if you want to be a part of this committee. There's going to be a committee now that figures out how do we play with these bad parts, right? How do we get into these aspects of being that we'd rather not with? And I know, Mama, you have significant experience in that. Stacy, I know that you've had significant experience and with healing. And Carolyn and I are now going through the training that begins this Friday. Like I said, it's a weekly commitment. It's like 2 hours a week for the next 5 months to get this certification.
Being certified to do
the internal family systems model. It's a healing model that was before available only to therapists, but that they have expanded to make available to, for lack of a better word, people who are both therapists and who engage in like community healing and community change efforts. And that model is about making peace with coming into loving relationship with the parts of ourselves, right, that that we have alienation from, separation, isolation, disconnection from in some way, and to our internal family system. So in that way, it's like the different parts of our own being, right?
Is anything like family constellation therapy?
In some ways, yes, except it's internally oriented rather than about like mama, daddy, grandparent, right? It's like saying inside there are systems within you of how your various parts relate to each other and to the whole, what you would call soul or self, right? And can you, it's an effort to resuscitate, right, the dimensions of ourselves and to be proximal with the parts that we'd rather not be. And its applications to the external are so clear, right? Because they start talking about the parts and the burdens they bear, personal burdens that come out of beliefs and experiences of harm and hurt that organize our lives, along with what they call legacy burdens, which don't come from our personal experiences, but they are inherited from our lineages, legacies, and cultures, and they're imprinted through our conditioning, right?
Yeah.
So there's a way this sort of internal and external gets blurred, but where they root is in more integration and wholeness within the self, right? The other piece of this is we don't just go through the training every week for a couple of hours. We each got a therapist and practitioner who has a deep practice of this, who then works with us every week.
Are any of those people
every
Black?
other week for just us.
Are any of those people Black?
Yeah, oh my God, Stacey, it's when I said it's international, oh my freaking goodness. It's not just, it's like they're trying to do this work. They're trying to sow seeds like all over the world, right? Like right now. So, let me, I'm gonna share this with you. Okay. It's, I'm excited by what wants to happen. And then I was like, man, I actually have a room. Like, what? Like, I never had, like, what? This is the way spirit, and it came immediately. She told me about the book after that Sunday,
Yeah.
in February. And I bought it it came on Monday. On Tuesday, she was like, there's this opportunity and it's going to close in 5 hours.
Yeah. Oh,
5 hours.
You didn't tell me that part.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it costs thousands and thousands of dollars.
And it's free.
And it's free. So, but it's like a people of color. So this is, the lady says, it's the program is called Building from Within. That's what it's called. And they said, blah, 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 blah. Welcome to our Building from Within community. For those who are unfamiliar with Building from Within, it was born as Construyendo desde adentro in El Salvador just 3 years ago.
Wait, say it again, Rebecca.
Girl. Okay,
because I am having too much fun clowning you. Show me the word.
Excuse me,
you want
Mama.
me to tell you how to say it properly?
This is what you did. Look, you lucky I didn't say construyendo desde adentro.
I love you though. And it's one of the only other languages I know how to speak properly, so that's why I'm getting a little joy out of this. But go ahead.
Anywho, it was born in El Salvador just over 3 years ago and has since spread to Palestine and the U.S. With all of you in this cohort, it's now spreading across the world. Our community that will be together, this cohort comes from, get this, Congo, Liberia, US, El Salvador, Mexico, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Nepal, India, Singapore, Thailand, Puerto Rico, Korea, and Palestine.
Well,
Wow. It's interesting too because that constellation, to use your language, Mama Maybell, of people present even within them some interesting opportunities. Given Ethiopia and Eritrea. I'm like,
right?
ooh, that's gonna be interesting.
That's very interesting.
That's
very
what's
interesting.
going on with Korea and the backlash of what do they call themselves? Sealings. So the folks from Thailand and Vietnam, like my community of people, they're like, forget it, South Korea. Like, we're not doing this with you anymore. We'll boycott if you continue to do us dirty, acting like we're lower on some hierarchy of humans. Because Mama Mabel, you know how folks show up in K-dramas and it being right. So apparently there's this whole movement in terms of the back. So I'm interested I cannot wait for you to get started. I cannot wait for you to get started.
This Friday, she says, in a nutshell, we're a community devoted to collective liberation. And we bring together IFS practitioners and their healing craft with peace builders, activists, organizers, and that's you all, and your collective healing craft. Trusting that at the intersection of the personal and the systemic, all of our efforts for healing and liberation can be amplified.
And who is the we? Who's the person or people organizing?
Are those the founders of that movement?
This Jenna lady, she was one of the founders.
And you said it's called Building Within? Is that what you said?
Building from within. And then they have therapists who then work with us every other week individually for that same 5 months from Saudi Arabia, Peru.
Like, I was just about to ask you, where's that?
The Chicken Shack.
I don't know that place.
The Chicken Shack. Saudi Arabia, Peru, Spain, Ecuador, Portugal, Switzerland, the US, the Netherlands, the UK, Italy. Yeah.
I'll be interested to see. I can't tell from just the country names whether those folks, as presumably, but history tells me that this isn't always protection against it. I can't tell from the countries whether these are all white folks who are well-meaning.
I have to go back and take part of that out.
And when I say well-meaning, I say that with sarcasm. Or whether these are, anyway, I'm just curious to see.
They're not, because the one I got assigned, she's Black.
Okay.
From the US. So they say that what they managed to get was $200,000 of labor gifted for our cohort.
And that's what these therapists who are working with you. Okay, that's nice.
Individually. So I guess I don't know, it's 10 to 15 sessions in 5 months.
Whoa.
Them, not including the actual training. That's not which is every week.
That's pretty fantastic.
And then she said, why, you might ask, would this labor be gifted? Because collective liberation is more exciting than capital gain.
I hear that. That capitalism. Ugh.
I know. So I was like, okay. And the way they found us is because we had street cred. They did not put out a they did not put out an application process.
Well, we know that, but I'm glad
I was
that they
like,
had the whatever to find you.
yeah. I was like, what? I'm glad Carolyn thought.
They found Carolyn, right?
They
Yeah.
found Carolyn. And then Carolyn was like,
This is us. Yeah.
They found the white lady who had access to the black one.
There you go. By whatever means necessary.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit's just like, I know this path. Let me go on riding down here.
Yep. So the people are Amy, Rick, Ashok, Florina, Antonio, Moon, Shilpi, Aista, Olga, Cece, Cito, Lindora, Paula, Mago, Tiber, I don't even know how to say that, Ty, Cool Deep, Sushma, Alba, Saba, Thomas. We gonna see. We'll see what happens, y'all. We'll see what happens. But I feel like it's time, you know? Like I didn't know what people were gonna say today when they were arriving. But boy oh boy, if what they had to say didn't align with what it was that Spirit was saying to me, and then align with this book, and then align with this opportunity to do this program. The intent for them is to expose us to a model that we then might figure out how to apply within collective context.
Yeah.
Right. Because the point is that this model was designed within a therapeutic setting for individual healing and support. But again, there's these real applications beyond the therapeutic setting into more of a communal setting. And that's not the part they do. That's the part we do. But in order for us to do that, we have to experience it and find its value personally. And then it might open the door for some creativity to figure out how do we make peace with the bad parts inside of us and outside of us in a way that gets us beyond the ways that we've sort of historically stood up resistance. So that what we actually get is more transformation over the longer term. So it's an exciting project to be a part of, and I'll keep you posted.
I was not surprised by what people were coming with, given like what's going on in the world. I was surprised by the fact that I had just had that conversation with Laylee. Morning, because one of the things that I have been, she and I have been friends since high school. And she and her family have been doing deep work in terms of tapping into, especially through their Baha'i faith, tapping into Blackness. And I have not done the same work in terms of tapping into probably more so her Baha'i faith than her Persianness. So this year, one of the things I have been doing is studying more and asking her questions. Because I'm like, shoot, if I can be studying about Korea and they ain't got shit to do with me, except everybody does have everything to do with me, right? But I can most definitely do it for my girl. And not for her, but you know what I mean. So I was asking her about our family traditions with respect to Nowruz, which is the upcoming Persian and Baha'i New Year. And asking her more about what was going on in Iran. Because, I am still staying away from, but at the same time, like, that is pretty huge. So she called this morning at 7 and was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. because for her family, for her people, like this is a huge thing. So we had this very long conversation about basically all of the things that we were just talking about. And I'm like, when you say like the thing wants to happen, a lot of us are in a lot of us are in those spaces, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, that are begging for, I have been saying begging for practice, but a lot of it is because I don't know how to get any better without doing that in this consciousness. While my spirit knows better, I'm trying to close the gap between my consciousness and my spirit. And that comes through a lot of things, not just practice, but study and all the other things. And the way my spirit seems to be oriented, or my consciousness seems to be oriented, is by surrounding myself with people who know better. That's how I learn. You and Mama Maybell are, I think, greater students, like studiers of text and that kind of thing. I do better by being around you.
Mama, did you hear that? Did you hear what she just said? Heard it. Y'all go to the library and then tell me what you read. You know what I'm saying? That's what she said. That is what she said, Mama. I heard her loud and clear. Huh? Did she just say she's dyslexic? Did she just say this girl has got these degrees? She did. She used that as an excuse.
Excuse. I listen to you guys so deeply.
And everything she has tried, she is now going to fall back. She's going to use the dyslexic card, right? Yes. I don't think so. Black, and my people didn't get library cards until recently. Now what? Now what?
Now, you know good and well, Rebecca, because you've been around me, that has never stopped me from studying and working hard.
Well,
that's just saying.
That's exactly our point. Oh, that's our point exactly. Right. That is exactly the point. And thank you for making it. That's it. That's it.
And also, many of my deepest spiritual learnings, not all of them, have been through you two, through Laylee, like through my proximity, to use your language, to that. See, you can't step back from that now. I'm just saying, like, there are different ways, there are many paths, just like we were talking about this morning. The Baha'i centers, all Baha'i centers, have 9 doors. And that's because of the understanding that there are different paths to God. So not just one door, all the doors. I'm just coming through a few of them.
Yeah.
And one of them is through connection with others. I learn a lot that way.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to, like, honestly, I'm not actually trying to make an excuse for laziness and intellectual sloppiness. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying that for me, even when Laylee was trying to teach me these prayers this morning, she kept saying the thing. And when she wrote it and sent it to me, I immediately got it. But again, that my dyslexic brain needs to be able to see and hear. And this is sort of what I'm trying to say is an example of that. That the proximity, like I learned very well through my proximity to you guys and to others. I really am not, like, jokingly, yes, I am cracking jokes, but I do really mean it. That is a deep well of learning for me. Yeah. It comes into my spirit in a different way.
Yeah. And I'm gonna have to leave you. I'm preparing the last of my tax stuff.
Mm.
I'm getting my taxes done tomorrow.
Okay, Mama. We love you.
Good luck, Mama. Love you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you too. And Rebecca, I will see you next week,
Yes,
Sunday.
Hey, wait, this week. I thought you were coming.
7.
Isn't it this week?
Sunday.
It's Sunday.
Oh, it's next It's next week. Okay.
Coming Sunday.
In my head, it was this week. I'm glad you said that.
Yep, next Sunday.
So,
All right, family.
would you like me to come and get you?
Okay. Yeah, I get in really late though. So
You get
yeah.
in at 11, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I've got meetings that Sunday, so I've got to come after. Right. I get stuff done and finish up my meetings. So yeah,
Okay.
that'd
Do
be
you
great.
want me to call Earl and tell him that you're coming?
Yeah, that might be better because then that means you won't have to be out that late.
No, I meant for you to be able to go back and forth.
Oh yeah. To the conference? Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll need him to take me and pick me up.
Monday and Tuesday?
Tuesday and Wednesday. In fact, Wednesday I'll need him to take me to the airport straight from the conference.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I'll give him a call and tell him that you'll be calling him. You
Okay.
have his number, right?
I do.
I'll text him and let him know.
Okay. Will do. Ooh, I gotta go to the bathroom, y'all.
All right.
Ooh,
make
go.
care.
Love you all.